In the quiet suburbs of Portland, three seemingly ordinary lives became forever tangled in a dark web of secrets. Maria Thompson, a bookstore owner with a gentle smile, Mariana Collins, a caring nurse, and Diogo Santos, a talented software engineer, had no idea their paths would cross in the most tragic way. Like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to catch more incredible stories from Reddit that will keep you on the edge of your seat. This is the story of a friendship turned deadly, where love, money, and betrayal collided on a rainy April evening in 2020. From text messages and secret meetings to courtroom confessions and shocking twists, we're diving deep into a case that proves truth really is stranger than fiction. Follow along as we uncover how a simple crush turned into something much darker, leading to choices that would change lives forever. And don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments below. Your views and theories make these stories even more interesting. The night of April 15th changed everything. When Mariana arrived at Maria's apartment around 9:30 p.m., she found a scene that would haunt her forever. Diogo lay motionless on the beige carpet, with Maria standing nearby, her hands shaking. "He wouldn't listen," Maria whispered, her voice trembling. "The plan went wrong. He fought back." What started as a simple meeting had spiraled into something far more sinister. Just as they thought it was over, Diogo suddenly gasped for air and lunged forward, his survival instincts kicking in. In the chaos that followed, Diogo managed to grab Maria's arm, but Mariana reacted quickly. She struck him with a nearby lamp, sending him crashing to the floor. What happened next would be debated in court for months. Mariana wrapped her arms around his neck, applying pressure until his struggling ceased. The entire incident lasted less than 5 minutes, but its consequences would echo through years to come. The police later estimated that the time of death was around 10:15 p.m. The investigation moved swiftly, and by April 20th, both women were in custody. Their first court appearance in June 2020 revealed a complex web of relationships and motives. The prosecution presented evidence showing 47 text messages exchanged between Maria and Diogo in the 24 hours before his death, suggesting a planned meeting. The defense painted a different picture, one of self-defense gone wrong. Maria, in an unexpected twist, tried to take full responsibility, claiming she acted alone in both the killing and the disposal of the body. As the trial progressed, disturbing details emerged. The judge, Michael Harrison, focused particularly on the precise method used to dispose of the body, which showed knowledge of anatomy that suggested professional medical experience. While Maria insisted she learned everything from true crime shows and internet research, spending an estimated 14 hours studying similar cases online, the judge remained skeptical. The prosecution revealed that Mariana, with her nursing background, had accessed medical reference materials 23 times in the week before the incident. The final breakthrough came when two of Diogo's co-workers testified. Sarah Chin, who worked closely with him at Tech Solutions, Inc., revealed that Mariana had suspicious knowledge about the location of Diogo's car before the police made that information public. Another colleague, James Wilson, shared how Maria had tried to mislead investigators by suggesting Diogo's aunt might be involved, despite knowing the aunt had been living in Europe. The courthouse buzzed with tension on a cold February morning in 2021 as Maria took the stand for the main hearing. Under the harsh fluorescent lights, she told a story that shocked everyone present. Through tears, she explained how Diogo had allegedly tried to force himself on her multiple times, making her feel unsafe and desperate. "I never meant for him to die," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I just wanted him to stop." The courtroom fell silent as she described how what started as a plan to scare him turned into something much darker. The relationship between Maria and Mariana became a hot topic during the trial. Though they had once been inseparable, spending nearly every weekend together and sharing their deepest secrets, they hadn't seen each other for almost 8 months before the trial. The prison system had placed them in separate facilities, Maria in the Sterling Women's Correctional Facility, and Mariana in the Riverside Detention Center, about 100 miles apart. Local newspapers reported that their romantic relationship had ended badly, with other inmates claiming they heard Maria crying at night and tearing up photos of them together. March brought a stunning twist to the case when Maria completely changed her story. In a dramatic 3-hour testimony, she painted a very different picture of what happened that night. Mariana planned everything, she revealed, her hands shaking as she spoke. She described how Mariana had spent weeks researching different drugs online, eventually choosing one that would make Diogo helpless but conscious. Maria claimed that Mariana had ordered the drugs through a secret website, paying with untraceable cryptocurrency worth approximately $300. The new testimony detailed how Maria's feelings had clouded her judgment. "I loved her so much," Maria explained, wiping away tears. "I would have done anything to protect her, but now I see how she used me." She described their relationship, which had started 2 years earlier when they met at a local coffee shop. They had spent 312 days together before the incident, with Mariana slowly gaining more control over Maria's life, including convincing her to quit her job and distance herself from her family. According to Maria's new statement, it was Mariana who had grabbed Diogo's neck, applying pressure while telling Maria to help hold him down. The story then shifted to the backgrounds of these three individuals whose lives had become tragically intertwined. Mariana Santos grew up in a small farming town where she lived with her grandparents after her parents' divorce when she was just 7 years old. Despite her troubled childhood, she excelled in school and earned a nursing degree with honors. Her colleagues at Memorial Hospital described her as quiet but efficient, working there for 6 years without any complaints. No one suspected that behind her gentle smile and soft-spoken manner lay someone capable of planning such a terrible crime. Diogo Gonçalves' story painted a picture of someone who had worked hard for everything he had. Born in 1991 in the beautiful coastal town of Albufeira, Portugal, he grew up watching his parents work tirelessly at their small restaurant during the tourist season. As an only child, he helped out whenever he could, learning English and Spanish from talking to customers. His childhood friends remembered him as someone who always had time to help others, organizing study groups and teaching younger kids how to swim at the local beach. His passion for computers started early. At age 12, he built his first website for his parents' restaurant, helping them attract more tourists. After finishing high school with top grades, he dove deep into computer science, spending countless hours learning programming languages and developing his skills. In 2015, Diogo's life was a balancing act between work and dreams. At just 16, he started working the late shift at McDonald's, often staying until 2 a.m. before heading home to study. His manager, impressed by his work ethic, promoted him to crew trainer within 3 months. Every penny he earned went either to his education fund or to help his parents with bills. He worked 30 hours a week while maintaining perfect attendance at school, sleeping only 5 hours most nights, but never complaining. Life dealt Diogo a cruel hand when he turned 17. On a quiet Tuesday morning, his father collapsed while opening their family restaurant. The doctors later explained it was a massive heart attack that left him in a coma for 23 days. The hospital bills started piling up, reaching nearly $45,000. Just as the family was beginning to cope with this tragedy, an even greater one struck. His mother, while walking home from visiting his father in the hospital, was hit by a speeding red SUV. The impact threw her 30 feet, and she died instantly. The driver, later identified as James Peterson, fled the scene but was caught thanks to security camera footage from a nearby shop. The court ordered him to pay $250,000 in compensation, but no amount of money could fill the void left in Diogo's life. The aftermath of these tragedies forced Diogo to make difficult choices. His Aunt Isabella, his father's only sister, offered him a place in her home in the city's northern suburbs. At first, it seemed like a perfect solution. Her house was closer to both his school and work. However, what started as a grateful arrangement soon turned tense. Isabella's strict rules and constant monitoring of his activities clashed with Diogo's need for independence. After 3 months of increasing friction, his best friend Marcus's parents stepped in with a lifeline. They had a small guest house they would rent to him for just $300 a month, less than half the market rate. Despite carrying the weight of his losses, Diogo refused to let tragedy define his future. He threw himself into his studies with renewed determination, often staying up late in the library, fueled by coffee and determination. His hard work paid off in 2017 when he graduated at the top of his class in information technology from the local university. His final project, a sophisticated security system for hotel management, caught the attention of several companies. But it was the prestigious Vila Vida Park Resort that offered him not just an internship, but a chance to redesign their entire digital infrastructure. The position came with a starting salary of $55,000 per year, more money than his family had ever seen. At Vila Vida Park, Diogo quickly became known as the go-to person for any technical problems. He modernized their booking system, created a new employee management platform, and even developed a mobile app for guests. His colleagues admired not just his technical skills, but his ability to explain complex concepts in simple terms. It was here that he first met Maria Malvero, who worked as a security guard in the resort's luxury spa section. She often came to him with questions about the security cameras, and their professional relationship slowly evolved into friendship. Maria's own story was marked by struggle and resilience. Growing up in a small apartment above a noisy bar, she learned to be tough early in life. Her mother, Sarah, battled severe depression and anxiety, often unable to leave their apartment for weeks at a time. Her father disappeared when she was just 8, leaving only a brief note and $200 in cash. Despite these challenges, Maria found strength in martial arts, earning her black belt in karate by age 18. She dreamed of becoming a police officer, spending months preparing for the academy's entrance exams. However, her hopes were crushed when the review board rejected her application, citing a large dragon tattoo on her neck as unprofessional. The rejection pushed her toward private security work, where she excelled despite it not being her first choice. Throughout 2018, Diogo's feelings for Maria grew stronger each day. His friends watched as he transformed into a love-struck man who couldn't focus on anything else. When the prestigious Marina Bay Hotel in Lisbon offered him a job with double his salary, $110,000 per year plus benefits, he turned it down without hesitation. "I can't leave now, he told his best friend Marcus over coffee. "I think she might be the one." His dedication to staying near Maria surprised everyone, especially since she showed little interest in his romantic gestures. Diogo poured his heart into winning Maria's attention. He spent hours learning to cook her favorite Portuguese dishes, often practicing late into the night to perfect the recipes. Every Monday, he would bring her homemade lunch in specially bought containers. He took her to fancy restaurants, spending nearly $2,000 in 3 months on dining out. On her birthday, he arranged a surprise helicopter tour of the coastline. His world shattered one evening when he was scrolling through social media and found a video of Maria kissing a woman at a local club. The timestamp showed it was from 2 months ago, during a period when he had been taking her on regular dinner dates. The discovery hit him hard, not because of Maria's sexuality, but because she hadn't trusted him enough to share this part of her life. Still, Diogo chose to maintain their friendship. He continued buying her small gifts and meeting for coffee, clinging to whatever connection they still had. His friends worried he was being used, but he brushed off their concerns. By December 2019, things started changing at Vila Vida Park. Maria suddenly announced she was leaving her security job, claiming her coworkers' gossip about her personal life had become unbearable. She also mentioned needing to care for her mother, whose depression had worsened, requiring almost constant supervision. Diogo supported her decision, even offering to help find her a new job. However, the real reason for her departure would soon become clear. She had been secretly planning something much darker with someone who would change everything. Enter Mariana Fonseca, a 23-year-old nurse working at Lagos General Hospital. With her long dark hair and quiet demeanor, she didn't attract much attention at first. She had been dating Maria for several months, though few people knew about their relationship. The couple lived in Mariana's parents' modest 3-bedroom house in the outskirts of town, sharing a small room and dreaming of having their own place. Money was tight. Mariana's nursing salary barely covered their basic needs, and Maria's security guard pay wasn't much better. They often argued about finances, their dreams of independence seeming further away each month. Everything changed when Maria mentioned Diogo's recent compensation payment. The $70,000, approximately $82,000, he received from his mother's accident settlement became the focus of their conversations. Mariana's attitude toward Diogo shifted dramatically. She started showing up at Vila Vida Park during his shifts, bringing him coffee and asking about his life. She listened intently when he talked about his mother, touching his arm sympathetically. What Diogo didn't know was that behind these seemingly friendly gestures, Maria and Mariana were carefully crafting a plan. They spent hours late at night hunched over Mariana's laptop. March 20th, 2020 started like any other spring day, but it would become the darkest day in this tragic story. Maria finally said yes to a date with Diogo, sending him a text message filled with heart emojis. His heart soared with joy. After 2 years of hoping and waiting, it seemed his dreams were finally coming true. He spent hours getting ready, choosing his best clothes, and even buying a new cologne that cost $85. He told his friend Marcus, "Maybe she finally sees me the way I see her." His happiness blinded him to the warning signs. Why would someone who had rejected him for so long suddenly change their mind? The evening started with Maria inviting Diogo to her apartment for what she called a special dinner. She had prepared everything carefully, including a large pitcher of fresh orange juice that held a dark secret. Earlier that week, Mariana had stolen sleeping pills from the hospital's pharmacy, taking advantage of her late-night shifts when supervision was minimal. They had tested different amounts of the crushed pills in juice to make sure it wouldn't taste bitter. Their plan was simple but cruel. Once Diogo was unconscious, they would use his fingerprints to access his bank accounts and transfer the money. They estimated they could steal around $75,000 before anyone noticed. While Maria played her part inside the apartment, Mariana waited in her blue Honda Civic parked across the street. The clock showed 9:45 p.m. when she sent her first text. "Is he drinking it?" Maria replied, "Not yet, being careful." Over the next 30 minutes, Mariana sent 12 more messages, becoming increasingly impatient. Inside the apartment, things weren't going according to plan. The drugs weren't working as quickly as they expected, and Diogo was starting to notice something wasn't right. He had only taken a few sips of the juice, complaining it tasted strange. The situation spiraled out of control rapidly. To distract Diogo from his growing suspicions, Maria suggested something she knew would capture his attention: a private dance. While he was distracted, she managed to tie him to a wooden dining chair using rope she had hidden under the couch. At first, Diogo thought it was part of the evening's romance, but after 20 minutes of being bound, he began to panic. "Please untie me," he begged, his voice shaking. When Maria refused, he started struggling against the ropes. That's when Maria's martial arts training came into play. She struck him with a powerful punch, knocking him to the floor, chair and all. Drawing on her years of karate experience, she quickly wrapped her hands around his throat. The next few minutes changed everything. Maria's grip tightened as Diogo struggled beneath her. In a panic, she texted Mariana to come up, typing with one hand while holding Diogo down with the other. When Mariana entered the apartment at 10:32 p.m., she found a scene that would haunt her forever. Diogo lay motionless on the beige carpet, his eyes staring blankly at the ceiling. The reality of what they'd done hit them, but instead of calling for help, they moved forward with their terrible plan. Working quickly and methodically, they began their gruesome task. Using supplies from Mariana's medical kit, they removed Diogo's thumb and index finger to unlock his iPhone 11. They accessed his banking app and transferred $73,020 to various accounts they had set up over the previous weeks. Trying to buy time, they sent messages to his workplace group chat, claiming he was sick with food poisoning and needed someone to cover his shifts. This proved to be a crucial mistake. Diogo had never missed a day of work in 3 years, not even when he had a high fever. His supervisor, concerned by this out-of-character behavior, tried calling him directly. When there was no answer, he contacted Diogo's aunt, setting in motion the events that would lead to their capture. The first signs that something was terribly wrong emerged at Vila Vida Park when Diogo failed to show up for his morning shift. His supervisor, James Rodriguez, who had worked with Diogo for 3 years, received a strange text message at 9:15 a.m. The message claimed Diogo had met a French woman named Sophie and was moving to Paris immediately to start a new life. Everyone who knew Diogo found this ridiculous. He had never even mentioned wanting to visit France, and he was still responsible for his father's medical care. Besides, he had just started a major computer system upgrade at the resort that he had been excited about for weeks. James tried calling Diogo's phone 17 times between 9:30 a.m. and noon. Each call went straight to voicemail. When he did receive text responses, they seemed oddly formal and unlike Diogo's usual writing style. "Cannot speak now, very busy packing. Will explain later," read one message. The last text said, "Please do not call again. I need space." These messages only increased James's worry. In 3 years, Diogo had never been anything but polite and communicative. Something felt deeply wrong, especially since Diogo had been enthusiastically talking about future projects just yesterday. Maria and Mariana, realizing their cover story wasn't working, switched tactics around 2 p.m. They decided to make it look like suicide instead. Using Diogo's own black Honda Civic, they carefully wrapped his body in 3 heavy-duty garbage bags they had bought from a hardware store the day before. The bags cost them $45, and they had paid in cash to avoid leaving a trail. They drove to the Grande shopping mall, stopping at several ATMs to withdraw money from Diogo's accounts. They took out $3,000 in total, making smaller withdrawals to avoid suspicion. They even bought some expensive clothes and electronics, thinking it would look like Diogo had gone on a shopping spree before disappearing. The mall's security cameras captured clear footage of both women using Diogo's cards, Maria wearing a red jacket and black cap, Mariana in a blue sweater and white sneakers. This footage would later become crucial evidence. After their shopping trip, they returned to Maria's apartment where they spent 6 hours methodically dismembering Diogo's body using surgical tools Mariana had stolen from the hospital. They worked in the bathroom using bleach and other cleaning products to hide evidence. The neighbors later reported hearing what they thought was furniture being moved around, along with the sound of running water that lasted for hours. Around midnight, they began the next phase of their plan. Maria drove Diogo's Honda to the cliffs near Sagres, a spot known for its dangerous 200-foot drop into the Atlantic Ocean. Mariana followed in her silver Fiat. The location wasn't chosen randomly. They knew it was a popular suicide spot, with 3 other deaths reported there in the past year. They arrived at 2:15 p.m., parking in a tourist viewpoint lot that was empty at that hour. They tossed the largest bag containing Diogo's torso over the cliff, expecting it to fall into the churning waters below. However, their plan went wrong. Instead of falling into the ocean, the bag caught on a rocky ledge about 50 feet down, clearly visible in daylight. Not realizing their mistake, they drove Mariana's car to Waterfall Davis. The search for Diogo's remaining body parts took 3 full days and involved over 50 officers, rescue dogs, and local volunteers. They methodically combed the coastline and nearby areas, eventually finding his limbs scattered across different locations. The careful way the body had been dismembered suggested someone with medical knowledge was involved. Detective Martinez noticed that the cuts were precise, made with surgical tools rather than ordinary knives. This detail would later become crucial to the investigation. The police also found it odd that someone described by everyone as stable and hardworking would suddenly commit suicide, especially since he had just started a new project at work and was planning to buy an apartment. The financial investigation revealed the first solid lead. Bank records showed that just hours before Diogo's death, someone had transferred $42,000, about $49,000, to an account belonging to Maria Malvero. There were also several ATM withdrawals totaling $2,500, $2,925, and expensive purchases at Grande Shopping Mall made with his cards. Security footage showed 2 women using these cards, one clearly identifiable as Maria. The timing of these transactions contradicted any suicide theory, as they occurred after the supposed time of death indicated by the suicide note found in his car. When police brought Maria in for questioning, she seemed prepared but quickly cracked under pressure. At first, she spun a dramatic story about Diogo stalking her, claiming she had to quit her job at Vila Vida Park because of his unwanted advances. She described feeling threatened and acted out of self-defense. However, Detective Martinez had already reviewed months of text messages between Maria and Diogo. These messages painted a completely different picture. Diogo was always respectful, while Maria often encouraged his attention when she needed money or favors. The police also found surveillance footage showing Maria and Mariana shopping with Diogo's credit cards just hours after his death, laughing and trying on expensive clothes. As the evidence mounted, Maria changed her story again. In a lengthy confession on March 26th, she claimed full responsibility for planning and executing the crime. She insisted that Mariana was innocent, saying she had acted alone out of desperation for money. Maria described in detail how she had lured Diogo to her apartment, drugged him, and killed him when the drugs didn't work as planned. However, her story had holes. The medical examiner had confirmed that the precise way Diogo's body was dismembered required professional knowledge that Maria, a former security guard, wouldn't have. Mariana's interrogation on March 27th broke the case wide open. Over 6 hours, she revealed how Maria had approached her with a plan to steal Diogo's compensation money. According to Mariana, they had originally planned only to drug him and use his fingerprints to access his accounts. She claimed the situation spiraled out of control when the drugs didn't work fast enough. The police found evidence supporting this version: searches on Mariana's work computer about drug dosages, text messages between the women planning the crime, and security camera footage showing them together at key locations. Despite their attempts to blame each other, the evidence pointed to both women being equally involved in planning and carrying out this horrific crime. The courtroom was packed on April 27, 2021, as Judge Sarah Martinez delivered the initial verdict in one of Portugal's most talked about criminal cases. Mariana Silva faced multiple serious charges, including first-degree murder, armed robbery, insurance fraud, and vehicle theft. After 12 hours of deliberation, the jury found her guilty on all counts. The judge sentenced her to 25 years in prison and ordered her to pay damages of 750,000 euros to Fernando Costa, the victim's father. This amount was calculated based on both emotional damages and the financial losses resulting from the insurance fraud scheme. Her co-defendant, Mariana Torres, received a significantly lighter sentence that caused widespread public outrage. While she was cleared of the murder charge, the court found her guilty of tampering with evidence and fraud. Her 4-year sentence was reduced to time. The stark difference between the two sentences sparked massive protests across Portugal. Over 50,000 people signed an online petition demanding a review of Mariana Torres' sentence, arguing that her role in the crime deserved harsher punishment. Social media analytics showed that hashtags related to the case were trending for 72 consecutive hours, with more than 2 million posts expressing disappointment in the justice system. Legal experts appeared on various news programs, explaining that the sentencing gap resulted from Portugal's complex legal framework regarding criminal cooperation and evidence tampering versus direct involvement in violent crimes. After the verdict, Mariana Torres quietly left the courthouse through a side entrance where her father waited in a silver Toyota Corolla. While she remained silent, her legal team, led by defense attorney Miguel Rodriguez, announced plans to appeal certain aspects of the conviction. The situation took an interesting turn when she appeared on Portuguese Tonight, a popular evening news show, claiming she could finally rest easy and expressing remorse to the victim's family. However, her television appearance backfired when behavioral analyst Alexander Monteiro published a detailed 45-minute video analyzing her interview. His frame-by-frame breakdown identified 37 instances of deceptive behavior patterns, including fake smiles, inconsistent eye movements, and defensive body positioning. The aftermath of the trial significantly impacted Mariana's professional life. Despite her relatively light sentence, her attempt to return to work at Lagos City Hospital met strong resistance. The hospital administration terminated her employment, citing concerns about patient safety and public trust. Hospital records showed that 73% of current patients had requested transfers upon learning of her potential return. Mariana challenged this decision, claiming wrongful termination and demanding compensation. She argued that her nursing license remained valid and that the hospital's decision violated labor laws. The legal battle lasted 8 months, with the Court of Appeal ultimately ordering the hospital to pay her 30,000 euros in compensation in early 2022. The final chapter of this tragic story unfolded on December 21st, 2021, when prison guards discovered Mariana's lifeless body in her cell during the morning check at 6:30 a.m. The prison security cameras showed no unusual activity during the night, and the preliminary investigation revealed she had taken prescription medication stored in her cell. A detailed search of her living space uncovered a journal containing over 200 pages of writing, which provided insights into her mental state during her final months. The prison's mental health department faced criticism for missing warning signs, as records showed she had canceled her last 3 scheduled counseling sessions. The morning of June 15th brought devastating news to the Centerpoint Correctional Facility. Maria Rodriguez, a 34-year-old inmate, missed the scheduled breakfast at 7:30 a.m., which immediately raised concerns among the prison staff. After several attempts to contact her through the intercom system, officers rushed to her cell block D23, where they made the heartbreaking discovery. Maria had used her bedsheet to take her own life. Despite the quick response from the prison's medical team and their desperate 45-minute attempt to save her, she was pronounced dead at 9:17 a.m. by the emergency response team. Further investigation revealed a troubling pattern in Maria's recent behavior. Her mother, living in a distant city nearly 300 miles away, had been her only regular visitor, making the journey every other month. Maria had submitted 3 separate transfer requests in the past year, all aimed at moving to a facility closer to her family. However, due to overcrowding issues and administrative policies, these requests were consistently denied. Her court-appointed psychiatrist, Dr. Sarah Thompson,